Commissioners, I move in the absence of Chairman Smith today that we have Commissioner KAAZ fill in as chairperson.
Second.
Voting?
Second.
Any further discussion? Aye.
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 Aye. Okay. I'll call the meeting to order. Please stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please observe a moment of silence. Okay. If you have not already done so, please silence your cell phones. And we'll begin by the roll call, beginning with Commissioner Stephen.
Here.
Commissioner Culbertson.
Here.
Commissioner KAAZ is here. Commissioner Smith is absent. Commissioner Smith
Is here.
and would like to let people know that Commissioner Smith is here. His mother has passed away, so let's keep her in your prayers, please. He and their family. Public comment. I don't believe we have anybody on the list for public comment today, so
Not for anything on the agenda.
not for anything on the agenda. So we can begin with administrative business. Mark, do we have anything in administrative business?
Commissioner, I just want to remind everybody that the Council on Aging is having their annual fundraiser. It's on October 15th from 5 to 9 p.m. at the Eagles. Tickets are available through the Council on Aging. I believe the theme is called Dueling Pianos this year. So just wanted to bring that up.
Sounds like fun.
And I have something.
Commissioner
So,
Culbertson?
it was brought to my attention about a week and a half after we had a conference meeting with Flatland Landfill that there was a mediation agreement entered into between the county and Flatland. And my understanding is there were not more than one commissioner present at that meeting, so I don't think one commissioner can bind a decision for the county for the entire board. So I'm asking that next week we get that mediation agreement, the MOU, put on the agenda for the board as a whole to vote on.
Do we need a motion to that effect, or just put it on the agenda?
Is that
Well, Commissioners, you're scheduled to have an executive session with legal counsel next Wednesday on that very matter. So you could either put it on your agenda or you could discuss it after the conclusion of that executive session. I would suggest, however, that matters of litigation, since you are allowed to discuss those in closed session to preserve attorney-client privilege, be exercised in this matter.
so? My suggestion would be put it on the agenda after the executive session with our legal counsel for next
Week or the following week?
I think we could do it in the same day. Just do it in order after the executive session. Have the executive session with our counsel and then have the mediation MOU on the agenda for us to vote on.
Did you not want to have time to kind of absorb that? I'm just
We could make
for
it the
sake
next
of
week.
discussion.
Well, I know we talked earlier about a few things where we made some errors in our documentation, like on some things, and we were, I don't know, would you be able to draft that up at the same time that we do this executive?
Would it be better to make it the week?
Commissioner Culbertson is referencing a document that he believes already exists.
So if that wasn't going to have to be modified in any way, I don't see a problem with it. But if there's going to be changes that would come from the executive session, then we probably would want to wait.
Yeah, this is on the agreement they think we're actually already operating under, which I don't think is legal since there was not.
Well, Commissioners, I would like to point out there was a mediation session conducted. No agreement was reached. There were terms of the conduct of the ongoing mediation reached, and those can be discussed in executive session.
Okay.
And while we're talking on it, is the deadline for the appeal for the Call Valley case, is that came and went, or is it still out
Commissioner,
there?
by my calculation, the mandate of the Court of Appeals would issue not later than next Monday.
Okay. So is that something we're going to have to discuss also in executive session, or is that something that's after the time comes and goes?
Commissioner, I prefer that we initially have a discussion in executive session. They're due to the mandate of the Court of Appeals, depending on what occurs between now and the end of business day next Monday.
Okay.
So to be clear, I'm not asking for a vote on the flatland issue. I'm just asking for consensus on the board to put it on the agenda for next week.
Week or the week after we have our executive session?
I think we could do it next week, just in order after the executive session.
If there's no material change
If
in
there's
the
no
document,
material
then
change,
that's,
yeah. And if there is, then we can bump it to the next week.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Okay.
It's your area, it's your request.
That's all I have.
Is there a consensus to have it?
I'm okay with it.
do we need a?
Anything else?
I believe you should make a motion.
Yeah, Commissioners, you set your agenda by vote, so I would suggest if that's what you wish to do, you vote, but I think you should make it clear that
It's after the executive session.
Since the next item on the agenda is the consent agenda, which form
That's your agenda.
Yeah.
Right.
So make a motion that we put the MOU mediation agreement with Flatland on next week's agenda after the executive session with our legal counsel.
Second.
Well, with further discussion, under the condition that there
That
are
there is
no,
no changes
In the document.
in the document.
So moved.
Comes-
Yeah.
so you want to amend
Well,
your
either way, we
motion?
can come out and make changes in the document.
If we wanted to, yeah.
Yeah, and then we could
Or say,
Commissioners
or bump it.
propose changes to the document.
propose changes.
Because,
Well, a lot of
because then there
times-
needs to be additional discussion. So that's why I said you can't just unilaterally make a change to a document without discussions with the parties involved. So that's why I think that we might want to wait for another week before we have a meeting regarding the document itself in case there are any material changes to the
Okay.
document.
Well, and that's what we had
That's why I
talked
was-
about, that we had some mistakes made when we deal with the document right off the bat. And
Right,
let staff
that's
have
why
time to.
Commissioners, I would suggest Commissioner KAAZ's proposal is wise, given the fact that this matter's been pending for some time, will be pending for some time. Haste makes waste sometimes, and I would suggest perhaps an initial discussion with legal counsel and executive session, followed by, if you feel it's appropriate, an agenda item at a later date.
I just don't want to see
Yeah.
us get into
So I guess my motion is to have it on October.
withdraw. You need to
October.
first withdraw your motion.
So, Madam Chair, I'd like
I
to
withdraw
withdraw
my
my first
second.
motion.
I withdraw my second.
Okay.
And I would like to make a motion that we put the MOU agreement, mediation agreement with Flatland on the October 5th meeting agenda.
Second.
Is that soon enough? I mean, or is that too
Well,
soon?
just
I
because it's on the agenda doesn't mean we'll act on it.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
All right. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Begin voting with Commissioner Stevens.
Aye.
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 Motion carries.
What was that date?
October 5th is the next Wednesday.
Please, no comments from the audience. Okay, any other thing for administrative business? Any other? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to accept
Madam,
the consent agenda.
Madam Chair.
Or anything need to be removed
I'd
from the
like to
consent
pull the
agenda?
check registry off.
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we accept the consent agenda minus the check registry as
Second.
presented.
Motion and a second. Begin voting with Commissioner Stevens.
Aye.
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 Madam Chair, I make a motion that we accept the check registry section of the consent agenda.
Second.
Begin voting with Commissioner Stevens.
Aye.
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 Abstain.
Motion carries. Okay, next we have formal board action. Consider a motion to approve Board Order 22-6, making certain findings regarding the application for the abatement or credit of property taxes on certain homesteads or building improvement damaged by earthquake, fire, flood, storm, or tornado, as provided by the county appraiser.
Hi, Bob.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Have a request for board action to approve a disaster relief resolution for eight properties that had outbuilding damage, meet the substantially destroyed criteria from the May 28th, 2019 tornado. And again, these will be applied as credits to the 2022 tax years. So they'll just be knocked off the 2022 tax year bill. And then there are 3 fires that all happened this year. Those would be abated for this year. That we had other ones on there. So, and those are all homes that burned on those. Any questions?
Homes and outbuildings, right? And outbuildings, not just
Right. If the
residential
outbuildings were destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
Any questions?
Ready for a motion?
Entertain a motion?
Madam Chair, I move that we approve Board Order 2022-6.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
I just comment.
Go ahead.
Is this is a direct result of the hard work our legislators went through and the commissioners and Senator Karen Tyson, who was the chair of the taxation committee, and that conference committee. She inserted this provision to get this through this past session, and it was backdated to the tornado. So we are appreciative of everybody that had a part in that, and I know these folks down in Linwood area are very appreciative.
But houses were always
Right.
able. It's just the
This is-
outbuildings.
right.
Yeah. This is just the addition for outbuildings.
But amazing it took 3 years.
No, it's not.
All right, we have a motion and a second. We'll begin voting with Commissioner Steben.
Aye.
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 Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bob.
Thanks, Mr. Weber.
Okay, next. Consider a motion to approve Resolution 2022-21, implementing a procedure pursuant to KSA 8-2010 for the designation of necessary emergency vehicles operating within Leavenworth County, Kansas, and designating the Sheriff's Office to make such designation. Come on up. Mr. Shirley.
Morning, members of the board.
Morning.
The existing resolution regarding this is from 1993. It spoke at length in reference to issues at the time with the change of the law. Since that time, the designation of emergency management as overseeing this for the Board of County Commissioners has changed somewhat in a board action previously that put emergency management under the Sheriff's Office. At that time, we worked with emergency management and the Sheriff's Office to create a program to put out red lighting permits for basically volunteer firemen that are going back and forth to the firehouse or to fire scenes. And basically it's a level of instruction that will allow them to have some classroom instruction and then a testing process and then eventually a permitting process upon successful completion of that. We've utilized deputies with emergency vehicle operations training to give those classes, and thus far it's been successful. The resolution in and of itself, the change from 1993 to the current edition, just strips out the language specific to the emergency manager and puts it under the Sheriff's Office. It also strips out some of the language regarding the collection of fees to take the class. It was a consensus from speaking with Sheriff Dedeke that he didn't want to charge people that were volunteering something their time to assist the county to assess a fee from them for this level of instruction. We wanted to be able to provide that to them free of charge and make it available to them.
Any questions?
Pretty
Discussion?
self-explanatory.
I'll entertain a motion.
I move that we approve Resolution 2022-21, implementing the procedure pursuant to KSA 8-2010, the designation of necessary emergency vehicles operating within Leavenworth County, Kansas, designating the sheriff's office to make such determinations.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Begin voting with Commissioner Stephen.
Aye.
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 Motion carries. Thank you.
Thanks,
Appreciate
Jim.
your time.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jim.
folks.
Okay. With that, now we have presentations and discussion items. City of Lansing, special election for the Aquatic Center. Come on up. Welcome. You can put it
Put it
wherever
right
you
there,
can.
wherever you want.
How about right in front of us there, or right there, anywhere you want to put it. Well, the camera can't see it, can they?
I think
Thanks
so.
for having me here,
Yeah.
Commissioners.
Okay.
Tim Vandal with the City of Lansing. I'll try to be brief, but I know since you guys are leaders in the community, you guys might be getting questions or comments about this as well. But the background of this, ever since I've lived in Lansing, and I think even before that, we would always get questions and comments about how Lansing doesn't have an aquatic center. Our governing body spent a lot of time talking about how we would pay for something that's $8 or $9 million. It's a challenging time to ask people to pay more, so I know the City Council certainly didn't want to do any type of property tax adjustment or anything like that. So the thought process was if we were able to do a special sales tax and let the residents vote on it. So this general election in November, when Lansing residents are voting for governor or congressperson, at the end of their ballot will also be a question whether or not Lansing residents want to increase the sales tax rate 0.45% to fund an aquatic center. If approved, that would raise Lansing's sales tax rate to 9.4%. So it would still be about 0.1% less than the City of Leavenworth sales tax rate, but it would be greater than Tonganoxie and Baser's sales tax rate. The location that the City Council has outlined for this is directly west of Lansing Elementary School, so on the corner of Bittersweet and West Mary. The council has talked about this at a couple of different work sessions, and so this is kind of conceptual, but this is the features that the Lansing City Council mentioned that they had wanted. And again, so things can be modified or changed if they want. So I'd say if any of your constituents have any questions about it, or anyone watching or reading about it later, feel free to reach out to us. One of the things that's been challenging, and I think you guys as an elected body understand this, sometimes you can put information out to people so much and they still kind of hear what they want to hear. I heard one person telling everybody that this is going to be funded by property taxes, and that's just not the case. This is a special sales tax election that's going to be this fall. And again, I think if a person's buying a cheeseburger at Freddy's, I'm not sure they'd really notice an increase in 0.45%. But if you're buying a couple $100s of groceries at Aldi, I want to say your bill would increase 90 cents or so. So it adds up if you're buying something larger, but not as much for something smaller. I'll show you guys some of the other conceptual photos we have. We felt like a lazy river would make an aquatic center in Lansing more unique. I want to say the Bonner Springs pool, Tonganoxie pool, and Leavenworth pool doesn't have anything like that. So we felt like that would kind of fill a niche. One of the questions that we had was how large this is. I don't have an exact head count for how many people could be in there at one time, but I know it's a little bit smaller than the Leavenworth pool is right So again, if you guys are familiar with the area where we're looking at, it's pretty wooded right now. So we're kind of going through some site plan ideas with that. But again, right across from Lansing Elementary School. We're looking at having 2 main water slides and then a small family slide near the zero depth area. So these would be for older kids, and that would be for younger children and families. And then this is a picture of a comparable pool in Iowa that our consultant made also. So, again, we're pretty excited about it. We're just in the education phase right now. The city can't advocate for it. Because again, there's pros and cons with this. There's not very many municipal pools that make money. It would probably lose a little bit of money every year, but we're trying to be open and honest about that with our citizens. We think maybe it would lose $30,000 to $40,000 a year, but again, I think pretty much every municipal aquatic center loses a little bit of money. But with that, I just wanted to make you guys aware of this because again, I know you all are elected officials. So in case you get any questions or comments or people saying it's a property tax, feel free to vehemently tell them that it's a sales tax and it would only be for within minutes. Are there any questions or anything you guys have?
Looks awesome.
Didn't this come up about 15 years ago before Schlitterbahn went in? The city, I thought, had acquired the land out there by Highcrest for an aquatic park. And it was approved, and everybody said, "Yeah, we'll do it." I don't know what stage it got to in the approval part of it, but then they chose to put it on hold because of Schlitterbahn going in. They thought it would not compete.
Yeah, some of those discussions predate me, and the previous city administrator might be a good person to ask those questions to. But I don't think we ever made it this far with the previous plans. And I know one of the other things that was a challenge out at Bernard Park, there's no sewer out there. And so this is $8 or $9 million, and we have a sewer line right there. Had we put it out at Bernard Park, it was $1.5 million or $2 million just to get sewer out there before you even touch the aquatic center. I think that also aligned with the time frame of the recession and the slowdown.
Yeah.
I think in 2007 or 2008, Lansing was having hundreds of homes built every year, and we're at 6 or 7 right now. So it's a little bit different from where we were in 2008. But yeah, I think there was a conceptual plan in 2008.
Sounds like a plan.
I have a question.
Yeah.
If the voters do go to the polls and approve this, and I like it when we put things to the voters. The voters get to decide that they put the taxes on themselves.
Exactly.
But when would the completion date for the project be? When do you say? Does it have that, or do you kind of have an idea when that would be?
So a lot of things would need to fall perfectly into place with supply chain issues and design engineering. If this is approved in November, we would have the more formal engineering plans taking place over the next 6 months after that. And again, if everything falls into place, we could maybe put it out to bid in May of 2023. And if 12 or 13 months of construction, there's an outside chance it could be open for summer of 2024. But again, that's an aggressive timeline. Summer of 24 is aggressive. 25 would probably be a safer bet, but there's a chance it could be 2024.
Okay.
And it'd be a 20-year sales tax. And again, I know one of our council members wanted me to really stress this to every entity we meet with. That sales tax only pays for the construction. People would still need to pay daily fees to come in, season memberships, and things like that.
Right.
But again, we're excited about it. Commissioner Steben, you took the words right out of our council members' mouths. We're letting the voters decide, and if the voters want to do it, great. And if they don't want to, the decision has been made. So, well, thank you all for having me.
I just had one more question. Commissioner Culbertson kind of triggered something. This was talked about, I don't know how many years ago, and it was going to be out there by Bernard Park or out of Bernard, and we were kind of, looking at taking this, the sewer was going to come out there, and we were going to hook on Highcrest and get rid of a sewer district, if I remember correctly.
Kill two birds with one stone.
Yeah, and so that's not the case now. I don't even, was it going to be at Bernard Park?
I'm pretty sure that's the reason they acquired that from Sedlac, was for the aquatic park.
Well, I
but then
think
they
it's-
said Splitterbond will be competing, and as far as I know now, there's no.
I just
Well,
remember the sewer
I just-
part of it, that we was maybe going to be able to get rid of the sewer.
I just have a question of curiosity because it is heavily wooded, and having a pool myself.
Yeah.
What are you going to do with all the leaves? Or how are you going to? No, I'm just curious what the
Yeah.
plan is for making sure that you kind of handle the because man, that's a problem when you have an area that has. Because I love the pool, it's cool.
We'd really try to clear out a lot of the area. So when the council first discussed this, the preferred spot was right on the corner of Bittersweet and Berry. But then as we're continuing on, there's a really big dip there, and so we were thinking, boy, that would be a very expensive retaining wall if we did it right on the corner. So then the thought has been maybe shifting it further west, so still on that same property, but further west, closer to the trail, the Angel Falls Trail. And it's a little bit less wooded over there.
Yeah.
And there wouldn't be quite as many grade changes, so we might not have to do a retaining wall. So I don't know about the filters or anything like that with leaves and things like that, but there's a chance it might be shifted a little bit further west to a less wooded area.
Yeah, that's a great location. I mean, the locations. But I was just when you said it's heavily wooded, and it is. So I was just thinking, oh wow, but.
Yeah.
Beautiful location, nice plan.
What was appealing to the city council about that location, there's sidewalks on both sides of that
Right.
road, and it's close to the Angel Falls Trail.
Right.
So we're hoping a lot of people would be able to walk and bike there. So yeah, there's a lot of good locations, but we felt like that was the best. So
I think Tonganoxie, their swimming pool water park has been very successful. They've had one for many years, and
Yeah.
they also redid it, I don't know how many years ago, and just rebuilt the whole thing. And it is always well used. And on your sales tax, it doesn't have a sunset. It'll just stay on there to help pay for operation.
20 years, so it would sunset after 20 years, and that's in theory when the bond would be paid off. So.
As far as I know, there's no plans for Schlitterbahn to be replaced with
Well,
another
that's-
water
that-
park.
that-
Oh,
I
but
think-
that's still
I
that's
think
a
every
nice
community
place.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you guys
needs a
need
water
to-
park. You got to have something for people.
Yeah, Leavenworth just put their
Kids to
splash
do.
pad in,
So I
and
think
it's
it'd be
really
even more successful.
It was interesting. We heard a lot of positives about the Tonganoxie Pool and Aquatic Center as we were designing this, and I think that was one of the things that came up with our residents is Tonganoxie's 5,000 or 6,000 people, and they've got a really nice pool, and Lansing's 11,000 people, and we didn't. That was some of the feedback that we would hear from
They had a nice pool when they had 2,000 people.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and it was busy then.
Pools are a good way of keeping young people busy in a positive way.
Good exercise.
Good exercise, and
The Bonner Springs one is always full.
Oh, yeah.
So.
Well, I hope you're successful. I think, the community needs that.
and it spreads it out for everybody to help pay for it.
Yeah, the council, that was one of the things they were adamant about. The sales tax, where everyone's chipping in if they're going to Quick Trip or buying a Ram or
Right.
something like that, whereas property tax is only Lansing residents.
Right.
So that's why the sales tax was appealing to them. So. Well, thank you all so much for having me here.
Thanks,
I'm
Tim.
open to, if you guys want to email me any questions after the meeting or anything, feel free to do so, but thank you all for having me.
Well, I have had questions about it, and I didn't know how to answer it.
Good luck.
I thought it was going to be at Bernard Park.
You can mention the website too.
We, for people who want to submit feedback, there's a button on our website, lansingks.org. If you scroll down a little bit, there's a button where you can submit feedback, and there's also some really neat QR codes where you can see like 3D photos of what this would look like from certain areas, and it talks about how it would be paid for, and just really cool conceptual photos, kind of like the ones I'd shown you guys. So yeah, feel free to go to that and go to the website, and people can submit feedback. So.
You have a Facebook page as well, right?
We have a city Facebook page. I can't remember if did we put the website on there?
We'll be doing it again several times.
No, I'm just to let people know there's also a Facebook page that
Yeah.
they can get a link to it to as well.
And just to reiterate, in case they didn't hear it clearly, this would not raise anybody's property tax.
Correct. That was one of my big goals in talking to you all, because again, I know you guys are going to get those questions. Sales tax, it would increase Lansing sales tax from 8.95 to 9.4. So, all right. Well, thank
Thanks,
you all
Dan.
so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Thanks for coming in. Okay, do we have any additional public comment today? If not, I will entertain a motion for adjournment. Or
move.
first we can do I guess we can see
Oh.
who did what this
Okay.
past week. We'll start with Commissioner Stephen.
Okay. Well, we went to the Tonganoxie Days, and my wife and I and Melissa, we distributed balloons, and we got to have some of the best lemonade I've ever had. They had
good.
there, and it was really good. And then we went to eat at Kelly's, and then we went to this little stranger church. Got to see that and have pie. So we were fat and sassy that day. And upcoming events on the 29th September at the library. We're having a property tax task force. Hope people can come and just learn. The first meeting is just going to be learning what's the way property taxes work in Kansas. A lot of people.
It's a Leavenworth Library, right?
Yeah, no, the Tonganoxie.
Tonganoxie Library, okay.
It'll just be a basic meeting going over what the percentages are, how it's done, what state, local percentages are, just the basics, and then hopefully we can then move ahead with some recommendations on changes. The other thing is October 5th, there's going to be a rally here on the south steps of the courthouse for Alberta Leach. Help Find Randy rally. They're trying to get a meeting with the governor to see if they can have a cold case declared. It's been 34 years, and that's what they're going to be doing.
Is the governor going to do that?
No,
Oh.
not that I know of.
Oh, okay. Well, you said they're trying to get.
Well, they're reaching out to the governor,
okay.
and they're all the authorities, but the governor has a lot of authority on that. They have visited with General Schmidt on the issue, and I think there's some real progress being made.
Jeff?
I don't have anything this week.
Doug?
Bayshore City Council last week, and I'll have Fairmount Township tomorrow night. I went through Tongi Days, but I didn't do anything.
Well,
It was hot that day, wasn't it?
Oh yeah.
I had the NECAP Board of Directors meeting on Thursday evening. That was an interesting meeting, and we approved their, what is it? What do you call it? Now that the name of it, I lost the name of it. It's that their records are complete and they have no material findings on their audit. Thank you. And then the Port Authority meeting yesterday, and there was nothing dramatic that happened there. Bill, that was just a pretty routine meeting yesterday, so that was about it. So if there's nothing further, we'll adjourn into our work session.
Second.
This public comment section, did I not not hear you, Vicki?
You
Yeah,
missed
I
it.
asked if there was any.
We can barely hear you at the back of the room. It's
Sorry.
Super.
You're up.
Yep, I did say, was there any additional
I do
public
have
comment?
Public comment. Robert Owens, 18210 Amelia Earhart Drive, District 1. Mr. Culbertson is my county commissioner. My concern is flatlands. We have been walking around this, and all I keep hearing is, well, the attorneys. Sounds like we have a lot of attorneys for the county or for lawsuits. My first phone call this morning was at 6:27 from a gentleman that said, hey, come on out to my house and have some coffee and smell this landfill. I didn't need to go out there. I already know it stinks to high heaven. But that's my first call of the day. Everybody else don't like to speak up. I'm not scared to stand up and make a big show. We have to end this. I've advised District 1, the patrons that call me, that send me emails, this backdoor secret meeting of suspending this and attorneys, well, I think the citizens of District 1 need to hire an attorney. We need to file a class action lawsuit against the county, the state, Flatlands, and the owner of Flatlands. I think this needs to be public record, and we need to get this issue resolved. Either we battle it out in court, we shut them down, but this cannot keep going on, commissioners. I mean, I've been on the board a year, and this was one of the first cases we heard, and we're still dealing with this. We voted on this last month to suspend their SUP on a 7-1 vote. This should have been coming to you guys today on a vote to either let their SUPs stand or we suspend it. It's an SUP. It's a special use permit. We deny them all the time. We shut the camp down, the campground down in Bonner. We heard the neighbors, satanic cults, denied. Why? What are we scared of about an SUP and denying it? It's a lawsuit. We have insurance for this.
Mr. Chairman, just a comment. We have to do things decently and in order here, or we'll end up with the lawsuit that we lose. So we are completely, let me assure you, behind the sentiments that you're expressing. Completely, 100%. But if we don't follow the law exactly to the T, then we will end up paying Flatlands. So I understand the frustration, but give the process time to operate. It does take time, but please have patience.
I think you guys are going to be paying the citizens of Leavenworth County. I mean, this is on and on. It's an SUP. It's a special use permit. It's not.
We have other issues like the same way.
I know you guys got tons of stuff to do, but we just keep shoving this and tabling this and tabling this. I get calls, hey, do we need to be there today? I'm like, no, I'll go. I'll speak up. I'll make the 50 phone calls when I walk out of this room. But guys, come on. I mean,
we're behind.
I don't know what, as citizens, how many people we need to get up in this courtroom and jam this. Or it's like I said, it looks like we have a county attorney. It looks like we have an attorney for the lawsuit. Looks like we have an attorney for the insurance company for the county. And it looks like we have an attorney for Flatlands. So we got 4 attorneys right there. Apparently the people need an attorney. And that is what I'm going to advise the group when I speak with them later this afternoon is we need our own attorney. Because it looks like that's the only way we're going to get something done. Is we're going to have to put pressure on the other attorneys with our attorney. So now we got 5 attorneys in one room.
Attorneys are making money.
Yeah, that's who's making the money, the attorneys. The rest of us are losers. Straight losers. I've reached out to the Sierra Club. I'm going to meet with them this coming Saturday on the environmental impacts that this is having on our drinking water. It all flows downstream on Olathe's drinking water. Water One. I mean, this just isn't about us. This is going to be an environmental issue that we need to just step it up to the next step, I guess. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Brad.
Thank you. Anyone else have any comment? Sorry that you couldn't. I apologize that you didn't hear me.
It's okay, Vicki. Thank
Sure.
you very much.
Thank you. Any additional comment? Okay. If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn the work session.
Second.
Motion is second.
Aye.
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 We're adjourned.